Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Harry McCullough, and we are talking this time with Dr. John. No, not that Dr. John. This is Dr. John of Nicholls State University, the Dean of College of Sciences and Technology. Hey, thanks for joining us, Doc. And we're talking about you're the Director of Coastal Initiatives, and the Water Institute, the CPRA, awarded Nicholls about $500,000 for big projects on coastal research. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'll tell you about the research first. One of the best ways to restore the coast or protect the Louisiana Gulf Coast is to build a ridge. So we see that at the Caminada Headlands project. We reinforced the natural ridge that occurs along the coast, and that's going to presumably protect the back marsh and maybe even create some more back marsh. So ridges are a good way to protect the coast. We build them, we construct them, we dredge them, and they seem to be working. In addition, there are a number of natural ridges around the coast. There's Cheniere Caminada. Over in Terrebonne Parish, there's a community that's built on an old bayou basin called Smith Ridge. And anytime you dredge a canal, the spoils become a ridge that can be grown over with plants, and it's a geological structure. So one of the thoughts we had here at Nicholls is that we're surrounded by ridges. Our people settle on ridges. CPRA is building ridges to protect the coast, but we don't have a good way to assess if we're building them the right way and how long they'll last. So we took all of our assets. We took unmanned aerial vehicles. We took DNA studies in the water. We did plant and animal sampling. And we put all these projects together, all this science together, and we said, we will begin assessing ridge structure and how long and what's the best, we'll create a model to determine what's the best way to create them and maintain them for coastal restoration for a number of years.
Yeah,
so that's basically the research, Harry.
Yeah, that's so interesting when you talk about that. We were talking to Wendell Curall, and he was talking about some of the ridges that I guess Ducks Unlimited and some of the environmental clubs, they're putting right in front of some of their structures to do exactly that. How long have we been doing and building these ridges? And I guess that's the key. We know they're working, but we don't know exactly which ones are working the best. And that's what you're out to I guess, to document and prove, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to look at what kind of animals and plants live on the ridges, what kind of populations have left, or what kind come back. We're going to look at the elevation of the ridges and how it changes over time, and to take a look at the slopes to determine if we're losing any sediment or if there's a better structure we can build to create those sediments. But you're right. Ducks Unlimited and other entities are creating ridges to do exactly that, to protect against water dynamics and to bring back populations of plants and animals in marshes where there's saltwater intrusion or there's a lot of erosion.
Well, this is Dr. John Doucet. He's with the Nicholls State University. What made us start thinking more about ridges like this? You talked about some of the ridges in Terrebonne Parish that they've started looking at. Obviously, any canal would have a ridge naturally next to it. Do we have a kind of a guidance now, like, hey, we need to be 100 feet wide, or how many ridges would work or better for stopping wave action? Do we have any kind of base model on that yet?
So every situation is different. Every environment is different. So what they built at the Caminada Headlands, for instance, wouldn't necessarily work in the Upper Barataria, for instance. So engineers get together with these ideas and develop models to show how water patterns will change if we build these ridges, and how sediments and communities will be saved or protected if we build these ridges. So there's no basic model other than a little elevation of sediment, but it's much more complicated than that, of course. But there's no base model on how those ridges will be structured. Maybe through the research that just got funded here at Nicholls, we'll come up with something closer to a basic model that'll help CPRA in the future.
Do environmentalists must like this, right? It seems to be an environmental thing. Do we see more ridges in the future, or as opposed to levees? What's the future look like?
Oh, I don't think we're ever going to get away from levees. But in essence, levees are also ridges. They're the ridges that are a closed, part of the closed system, part of the wall that protects communities, right? When we talk about ridges in general, we're talking about those open-ended ridges that are facing bodies of water or within bodies of water. So we're not going to get away from levees, but hopefully ridges like levees will protect communities surrounding them.
Right. It seems like they could be done more economically too, maybe, than doing,
Oh,
and then have a bunch of those that lead into a levee. And so you have, I guess, they call them redundancy levees down here, but it's almost a sandbar too, right?
yeah, absolutely. Um, what we're building up with on the coast is basically silt. It's not sand, right? So it's more small, tiny, round particles that can easily slip off of one another. So it's not quite sand, but it's actually more tenuous than sand because the particles are not crystalline and they don't rub against one another. They just round like balls and they tend to fall. So it's similar, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, no, that's real interesting, and we're going to take a break in just a second. But they've got a coastal center that's coming up in Nicholls. So when we come back, that'll be a great way for us to talk about the coastal center at Nicholls, plus how students and anybody that wants to go into this field can maybe get in touch with you or go to Nicholls and be part of this program. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time.